Hello, I'm horceror. I want to find out what makes every single killer tick. There's one big glaring issue with that though. I play the Nemesis, essentially only the Nemesis. I physically cannot get thousands of hours of experience on every single character. So, I'm going to be interviewing people that do have those thousands of hours. One for every single killer. Welcome to Stars of the Fog. Hi there, this is a new type of thing for me. If you are unaware, Plague, the killer in Dead by Daylight, has a power that is vomit-based, so this is just a pre-warning section in case you have emetophobia to click off now. So I'm gonna do like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, still here? Cool, let's go. Alright, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Stars of the Fog. Today, we are going to be covering a killer from a long-begotten era, the bubonic babe, as she's been called, the Plague. My guest here today, a very prolific Plague player. Fun alliteration for you there. Would you like to introduce yourself, what you're known for, and why the Plague?
My name's Magi N7. I play a lot of the Plague. I'm very well known for the funny little Plague videos I produce on YouTube, or the amount of absolute chicanery I get up to with that character. There's just frankly a lot you can do with her, and I absolutely adore all aspects of this character, from lore, gameplay, pretty much anything. Yeah. I just think she's super cool.
All right. And, she's less of a modern day killer, more of a long time ago type of thing. So while we're speaking of going back to the very beginning, what got you into Dead by Daylight and when did you start?
Okay, so this is going to sound kind of scuffed, but I was never a fan of horror. Like horror was my genre. I was a shooter kid. So I saw this video from a content creator by the name of Kaif. I haven't watched him in a while, but it was him and his mates playing DBD. And I didn't associate DBD with oh, it's a horror game. I thought it was a boss fight sim for some strange reason. So I was like, oh, that's a pretty neat idea. So I hopped in, and then first games I played one round of Survivor and one round of Nurse. And so Nurse kind of got me on the killer train, but Nurse had the presence, but didn't really, I don't know. It was the first killer introduction, and then I found Plague. Plague was the second ever killer I went against in a Survivor game, and I was like, holy fuck, she's so cool and interesting and badass and sexy. And I was like, holy fuck. So I picked her up alongside the Legion, and for the past 4 years, I have been a very consistent Plague main. A few characters have caught my attention, like the Nemesis and the Artist, but just been Plague since 2020. Holy fuck, it's been 5 years now. Fuck, I'm gonna slap my desk. Oh shit. Yeah, since 2020.
It's kind of funny. Plague and Legion, you just do not like having survivors being healthy.
Okay, so here's the funny thing, is that if I speak about the Legion, I'll be in big trouble. I'll actually be in massive trouble, but
that's fine. We're getting a real Legion player on, in this week, so.
Yeah, okay. Well, I bought the Legion for Discordance.
Understandable. I can relate to that.
Yeah, back in the day, Discordance was really hyped up by aughts. I remember seeing a ton of videos about it, and I was like, I was just scratching my chin. I was like, okay, I could use this for Nurse. And then I also got Plague because Head On is funny. And now that perk is the bane of my existence.
You got Plague because Head On is funny.
Yes. I got Demise of the Faithful.
Oh, you got the chapter. Okay. Yeah.
Chapter.
Gotcha.
So I bought 2 of those chapters at the same time, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Oopsie
gotcha.
daisies.
So you played a little bit of Survivor, a little bit of Killer at the very beginning. So was it more of a 50-50 split, or did you kind of instantly go into being a Killer main?
I kind of instantly went to playing Killer because I just kind of, it was kind of as Survivor, I know the bit is way back in the day, people used to just hide. And I liked running around and interacting with the killer. And I get hiding near the killers interacting, but in my lobbies, since I just installed the game, everyone was hiding in the corner of the map. So it's I just want to go. I just want to, chase people. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I felt a real association being the guy everyone has to stop. If that makes any sense, I thought that was really, really interesting, and how people can both play against me on a macro sense, the entire team, but also on a solo sense. I thought that was really interesting, and that's honestly what drew me to Plague as well. Is team play against Plague is really, really good. like surprisingly good, but also like you can do really well against Plague in a solo sense. So it's like basically just tailor made for me, I guess. I don't know.
All right, cool. So I do want to ask about Plague specifically. Like you did mention, like, you know, second game you played ever was Plague. Just real quick, what was the first one?
It was a Bubba who bled me out. It was an insidious face camp Bubba who bled me out.
Yeah. So definitely looking for a better experience after that one. Gotcha.
Yeah.
What was like the initial appeal of Plague? Like aside from, you know, tall woman, I guess.
Okay, so disease as a like weapon in like a first person game or like a multiplayer game is entirely unique to Dead by Daylight. Like I like, it's gonna sound really scuffed, but for most of my life, like especially during the time period, like Jesus fucking Christ, Magi, Jesus. But disease kind of like fascinated me. Like something so small can do so much damage to something way larger than it. It was so like scary, but also like intriguing to me. And I was like, holy fuck, this as like a power is like so goddamn unique and cool, and it's executed so well on Plague. And I was like, man, this is why people should be playing DBD, you know? It's like, oh, you have man who sets bear trap and one of the most interesting things in gaming. It's like, I wonder which one I'm gonna pick.
Go with my bear trap.
Okay, dude.
And just like while we're, you know, talking about, you know, Plague, getting her, liking her, when do you feel like you really got her? When do you feel like you became like, okay, Plague, I feel this bond, I got it, I get the connection, I know what I'm doing. About how long did that take?
Ooh, when I finally knew what I was doing, I don't really know. I don't remember. I want to say 2 years after playing her, when I guess it's when I first realized that there's a lot of mistakes people use with Vile, and specifically to do with the infection rates. Like, I realized at the time, by the way, I used the wrong formula to get the right result, by the way. I made a complete mistake. But I realized there was different rates for how quickly someone got infected, and you can use that to track where someone is on the map. And I was like, wait a second. But like, I did it wrong. Like, I thought it was like, yeah, we'll get to that. But that's kind of when I started realizing it. But Plague is one of those characters that I feel like I am constantly learning with. So like, even after 5 years, there's still like very like intricate things that like, I'm like, huh. All right, well, that's fun.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. So, like, just give me an example. Like, what's something kind of in-depth that you learned that maybe the average player wouldn't know?
Okay, so did you know that Plague's purges are based on her own momentum?
No.
Okay, so basically, Plague's, like, if depending on how quickly you move, Plague's purges can go at it controls its velocity, right? So okay. I think the most obvious example is if you purge directly, like if you're moving to the right while purging, it doesn't go on target the entire time. It goes really far off to the right. And that is probably the best example of that. But what you can do with that is you can use like the fact that Plague's purges arc over things while also using your movement to like slow down and control the descent of that purge to get really tight hits over obstacles. Honestly, it's really funny because I've been writing about it recently. And Plague is the only character that against elite level Plagues, she's the only character you have to look up against in all of DBD. Because, I mean, like, Huntress has orbitals, right? But, like, Plague is so, like, she's in chase with you. So she can either come from the left, right, or she can purge over something by using a waterfall curve and hit directly on a check spot. So it's really interesting the amount of flexibility she has at times.
And would you say like that is your number one part of the killer that you enjoy? Like the absolute favorite thing? Anything related to like text, visual, sounds, just something like that? Complete unique mechanic?
I would say my favorite, there's a lot to like, but my favorite would definitely be infection tracking. There is simply so much because it's dealing with the survivor's actions and interpreting what they could have done by how quickly they got infected. Mm-hmm. And that is like, there's so much room to interpret there. Like the amount of times I've been like, wait a second, that guy should have been fully infected in 28 seconds or 50 seconds if he wasn't like working on contamination. But that guy got infected in about 35. so where is that guy? And I'll turn to the I'll realize that guy's going for the rescue, turn to the left and immediately cut that guy off and like win the round. So honestly, oh, she's so cool.
Just like a lot of, you have macro play that's there, but it's not something you would just instantly know by picking up Plague for the first game.
Oh no. It's something you pick up for starters by playing a lot of Plague. But if you want to learn Plague like really well, I would recommend you you start playing Survivor with the perk Empathy or Bond with Open-Handed. That's the one that extends auras, right?
Yeah.
Basically, just anything that makes you be able to see what your teammates are doing at certain points in the game. Mainly, that just tells you how a grand majority of people, even in a Swift, whatever, like say you're in a 4-man, like a cop squad, you know what I mean? Like everyone's using the fucking clock symbol, the
Clock call out.
Clock system, right? They're not calling out every single action they're doing, right? You can sort of interpret that. So if you're actively watching what they're doing while you're on a gen, right? Like you're hitting skill checks, you're not really doing much. If you're watching what your teammates are doing, you can see like, oh, if that person's on hook, that person's on chase. The person that was like on the least of like progress gen, that guy's going for the rescue. All right. Or, you know, stuff like that. I think having that mix between killer and survivor makes either side much better as a player.
So like your general advice for new players is A, play both sides, and B, learn what survivors are doing so you can kind of track them better as Plague?
Yeah, a little bit.
So for sure. And like on the opposite end of things that you enjoy, what is like your absolute least favorite part of Plague? Like the thing that borderline, if it were not for the best and like the rest of the kit, it would be like, okay, I can't handle this.
This might be a hot take, but I really don't like how spammable her purges are, because it's led to a bunch of people like holding M2 and then flicking their mouse around because God, like Plague is, you need a deceptive amount of precision with Plague, and the fact that like even with Corrupt, like I get the balance behind it. It's just that I wish it wasn't as easy to just spam down chokes, if that makes any sense. Like that's my least favorite aspect. But if we are to talk about other things going for her right now, it would probably be the massive amount of bugs she has at the moment.
Okay, and that's a great segue to just talking about bugs. So what are like the bugs that she's experiencing right now?
I think the major one is Purge Piercing has been disabled for 2 years. Basically Purge Piercing, if you know that one Trickster add-on where it like no clips through a survivor and still hits a survivor that's potentially being body blocked for, it's like that. Plague's purges are supposed to behave like that. However, they've stopped working like that for over 2 years. So what that ends up doing is, because Plague's purges are really susceptible to invalidations, because frankly, there's a lot of them and they can hit on times the servers aren't really detecting projectiles. It's weird. When Purge Piercing was enabled, because of how slow Plague's purges were, if they go through a survivor that's running in a straight line, they would have multiple chances to revalidate. So it would up her hit consistency. But since it's not enabled, it feels like you're just being punished for like actually using your M2, which sucks.
Is that like the only bug, just revalidation stuff, or? I assume there's more.
Yeah, no, there's one where if you get stunned while charging a purge, you get slowed down to the charging speed for like permanently until you recharge again, which kind of gives the survivors way more distance than they should. I have no idea how that bug ended up in the game. There's another one where Head On removes Corrupt, which it shouldn't. That's like a side effect of the previous bug that allowed every stun survivors had access to remove Corrupt, which, oh man, that was painful. That was a very painful time, but...
Yeah, I'll be honest about that one. As a misconception, I thought stunning Plague, removing her power, I just thought that was a thing for the longest time. Like, I thought that was how it was supposed to work.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I spoke to, we were speaking with Bennett on his show. I'm sorry if we're not supposed to bring that up.
That's fine. I don't care.
That's a conversation. I totally get why people are like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. But like the risk with Plague is like, if someone's camping a pallet, right, and you like charge a purge and then they back off and run away, they end up getting way more distance and they can actually extend the loop with how fast the purges actually are. And by fast, I mean how slow. So that's kind of the dichotomy. And it's also a time-sensitive, limited availability power. So it's like, I don't even know how you can compare this to, but it's like,
Oni, maybe.
well, like Oni doesn't even get like he gets his back. Myers gets it back. Plague is the only one with that restriction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you have to go out of your way. Like the entire gameplay loop of Plague, for the most part, is building the trial up, like gaslighting, gatekeeping, and girl bossing your way into having a really good corrupt proc. So going through all that work only to lose it to a stun you had no idea was in play, or like literally no telegraph in the case of like Blast Mine. Like it's rough, and that's the real core of it. It's stuff that is telegraphed, because the risk against Plague is substantial, but so is the reward for the survivor, right? Like stunning a Plague is so rare, but once you actually do it, it's like, oh fuck, you know? It's like Plague chicken. It's a very funny thing once you realize Plagues are terrified of pellets.
Yeah, but it's definitely rewarding for a reason, because of this bug. Exactly.
Yeah. Head on is like, I mean, you can assume if a survivor runs past a locker for sure, but like other times, like, I don't know, man, like losing corrupt to the Jane Romero jump scare is kind of like, I don't know, man. It's rough. It definitely makes me want to, like, you know, my desk might be in pieces afterwards. I'm not too sure.
I mean, it definitely depends on the map, though, because I feel like there's a lot more obvious lockers that are, like, for head-oning, and then there's sometimes I just run past a locker, like Raccoon City, Police Department, like Dead Dog, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And while we're speaking about maps, what are like your favorite and least favorite maps? And are they the same as Plague's best and worst maps?
Honestly, I would say that, like, to answer the second question first, my favorite maps are usually Plague's, not her best maps, but like maps she has like the most flexibility on. Like, I absolutely, like, controversial statement, every single time I end up on like an indoor map, like RPD or whatever, oh my god, I am in agony. Because like Plague really suffers around tight turns, right? Like if you turn, it's really funny because technically her power is countered by looping. Like on a sheer technicality, it technically is. And if you turn around a corner tightly, and it's like the indoor maps, you just can't use your power. And especially since the ceilings are so tight on a lot of these maps, it actually reduces her maximum range as well. So it's like, what can I do besides vomit on generator? Yes. But I would say, like, getting on topic of her best maps, it's going to sound funny, but her best two maps, I would say, is the new Ormond one, the mine, and Temple of Purgation. Those two maps, you get a Plague on that. Oh my fucking god, she's gonna kill you. She's actually gonna kill you. Like there's so many interesting angles on them. The fountain spawns are so good. Oh man, and especially like, have you seen the bug where you can get on that like there's no invisible wall on the ramp? Oh my god, I love I keep going for shots off that. Like it is literally like Purge City suburbs. Like I don't know, I have a great time on that map.
Okay, so we have your favorite. We have ones you don't like. What's just your personal least favorite? Number one, I hate this map.
Leary's Memorial Institute.
Understandable.
Oh my god, I hate that map. I can. Oh man. And every single time I see the glasses, I'm like hand in head in hands. I'm grieving because it's like, well, fuck.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense. I'm in the same boat. Just can't use my power. They take window, they leave. Goodbye.
Oh man.
A little bit of a conversational left turn because I love doing those. How do you feel about cosmetics? Do you think Plague has enough cosmetics or not enough? And should you get full executive permission to make one of your own choosing and design, what skin would you have made? And what is your favorite set?
Oh my god, those are some really fucking good questions, because Plague's outfit is so fucking clean. I love Plague's outfits. There's only like one I absolutely fucking hate. But Plague's I think she should get more. First off, I think she should get more. behavior, get on that. Her main design, I feel like they don't stray too far away from it. Like it's really intricate. So it's like I feel like they struggle with like, how do we keep that like silhouette of the Plague, but also like make an interesting outfit. It's like why I thought they wouldn't bring in classic Nemi, because like he's kind of skinny and like, you know, executive control over a skin. Now there's so many different skins I've said on the past. I do think like a cyberpunk healthy skin, like a healthy skin would be good. She already technically has that, but the interesting part about that skin is that version of Addons has so many like physical characteristics that are different from the usual version of Addons that we all know and love. There's a lot of physical differences that it's like that the healthy version of Addons we have is basically a different woman, like an entirely different character at this point. So I would also love a skin to deal with the like her in the lore. She tends to the Garden of Babylon alongside her high priestess duties. So I would love like a gardening skin, you know, give her a nice little like the big sun hat. You know what I mean?
Okay,
like a little bouquet of flowers, you know, that would be cute. That'd be cute. Little pink sundress, whatever. And then like a cyberpunk skin, like, you know, like Cyberpunk 2077, like the mono wire, like have that and like for the sensor, you know what I mean? And like, and then have her like her power icon on the back of that, and it like changes color between which mode she's in. I don't know, dude. I don't know. There's a lot of options, I feel.
All right. A lot of good choices. And just because you brought it up naturally yourself and like people disliking her, which, you know, if it's emetophobia, 100% understandable. But
oh yeah,
how frequently do you run into like fans or antis of your killer, and how do you feel the community feels about Plague in general, and why?
The community sentiment against Plague, unironically, it's really neutral. Like you would think, like the fans of Addons absolutely fucking love her. The haters of Addons absolutely fucking loathe her. But as a whole, everyone's like, oh, it's the Plague. Okay. And I feel like that's because one, Plague's been around for a while, and she is, for the most part, like we're gonna ignore Eerie Seal when I say she's probably one of the most balanced characters in the game. We're gonna ignore that. But overall, she is really balanced. Like emetophobia, for starters, like I have no idea how they haven't had a toggle for that, like immediately. Like I'm hoping that's coming with the Plague rework. That'd be pretty awesome, souls. But the haters of Plague, I feel, really stems from the fact that Plague technically has everyone injured, and the community sentiment that you should never cleanse against Plague at any possible point, which is something I heavily disagree with. Like there are times you should absolutely cleanse against Plague. Like I know like people are like, oh, you cleanse and then you immediately get yourself reinfected. And I'm like, okay, but if you cleanse, immediately get yourself reinfected, but you immediately save the team by either getting a really clutch pickup and or a stun or rescuing someone off hook, then that's worth, man. That's completely worth it. You've kept your team in the game. It's all about that like risk reward dichotomy that I really love about Plague. But I feel like that really, like the haters of that, it's like, I totally get it, kind of. There's a lot of things you can do against Plague, but there's a lot of things Plague can do against you. There's like a million different things. And for the most part, a lot of people do like the, like, you know, you go against the Blight. Oh yeah, you just like avoid the hug tech 5-head, you know, like stuff like that. Like, and I understand that the simple design is what is very popular. And Plague is just one of the few complicated killers that I am thankful has a neutral reputation.
Okay.
I do wish she got a little bit more popular. I am aware Thanatophobia is so fucking popular on her when it isn't even that good. Thoughts? But Thanatophobia is one of those perks that like I completely get why people don't like it, because it's kind of like zero thought utility if like everyone willingly gets themselves like infected, and it kind of like dumbs down the game. But it's like, oh man, it's not even that good on Plague. Like if you have one person like willingly keep themselves from getting infected and then everyone plays like semi decently, you aren't getting Thanatophobia value. Or like they'll do a gen in the corner of the map, cleanse there, and then the person who cleansed will hide the entire game. Usually the person who, like, you know, is on like second stage.
Yeah.
And then like you have no thanatophobia value for the rest of the game. And it's like what's the point? You could just run Blood Echo, you know what I mean? And have like way more effectiveness, way more fun, and way more incentive to cleanse. And it's just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, okay. So not Thana specifically, but do you feel like there's any perks that Plague uses better than literally every other killer? Like, what is the Plague perk, if you had to choose one?
Infectious Fright.
Really?
Yes.
How
I
so?
have a video about this, but healing, like no healing against Plague, right? That's kind of like the whole sentiment with her. When you think about it, survivors take a good deal of time just healing someone up. It takes like 16 seconds or whatever, but that is 2 people healing, or 2 or more people healing, which is time off gens that they've spent doing that action and like kind of resetting, right? A lot of the killers got a lot of free time to just like pursue other chases, kick gens. But since Plague literally does not have that time, Plague has to really be an opportunist. And Infectious Fright tells you when like, oh, there's someone like right around the corner, 5-head. And it also really shuts down altruism, which for a killer that really doesn't have the spare time and has to like, because she has to like lock the fuck in and save every time as it's available, being able to rescue like flashlight, whatever, a Plague basically loses her the game, right? Like if you get flashlight saved as Plague, it's basically GG unless you have like force slowdown. So like those 2 things on their own are like phenomenal for her. But also like when you get into like Corrupt Purge, that with Infectious Fright, dude, you're just like aura farming. Who cares?
If you get flashlight saved, do you also lose your corrupt?
No, but what a lot of people do, or what you should do, is if you get flashlight saved, just throw the pallet while she's in the animation. It doesn't stun her, but it removes corrupt.
Oh,
so,
your
like,
mind.
It's just like stuff like that. It's like, even if like people camping pallets while healthy, that is the scariest fucking thing to demand. Because I went against this Plague a little bit ago, and like I was juking her corrupt, right? Because like if you get up into a Plague's face, it's really difficult to hit her because like first you're on like the center of the right hand side of the screen, then you're behind her, so she has to like flick to the left to find where you are, and then you're on the other side now, and it's just like it's like trying to track a fly with the slowest moving projectile in the game, and it's just like, oh my god. You know, she has to back up. But anyway, this Plague, like I got to the pallet through that juking. She hits me, right? But like obviously she was body blocking the pallet, but because I lost collision, I was able to stun her. Move corrupt. Oh my god.
So how do you feel about playing against your main when you play on Survivor?
I love her. I unironically, I feel like I throw so regularly. Like I just follow her around and like observe my wife. Like, you know, I'm just like, yes, this is what she's doing right here. Yes. I'm just enthralled. Because she's so rare, I barely see her. You know what I mean? So I end up just like throwing the round, just like trying to get interactions with my man. But yeah, no, I she's my favorite character to play as and against. Absolutely fucking adore her. Like genuinely.
So she's your favorite. I love asking this question because most of the time I don't get answers. How do you feel about the Plague's lore?
I fucking love her. Oh my god, I love the fucking lore. It's so good. It's so fucking good. It's like most of the DBD lore, what like before Plague, I think Pixel Bush made a video about this. Sorry,
of course, Pixel Bush made a video about the lore. Come on.
I mean, yeah, but like he talked about the lore beforehand, and it was kind of like there wasn't really that much depth to characters before that. You know, like the hag lore. No, Grandma, I promise I won't get kidnapped by a bunch of cannibals. Wink, wink. But I absolutely adore Plague's lore. She's one of the only killers in the game. Like there is an argument for that she does what she does, like as like a fucked like the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Like it's a fucked form of altruism, and it's a really shitty thing. And like obviously because of the time period, you can kind of excuse her for like, you know, the whole human sacrificing thing, but like it was a system she was born into. Like she was orphaned at an early age and taken in by the high priest at the time, and then raised under him, someone who is a very like high like faith in the system and the way things work. But during that time period, Plague felt a great deal of regret in her early years about the human sacrifices. She knew she had to do them, but she's not fucking happy about it. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's really conveyed in the animations of Plague in game. I feel like she does not feel any good about what she's doing. Like she doesn't fucking like doing it, but she has to do it. Otherwise, her people will die.
Yeah.
So it's like if I sacrifice 4 survivors to what I think is a god, something that can ruin the world, like absolutely fucking tear everything down and like massacre millions, and all I need to do to save my people from its fury is to to put 4 people on hooks. It's like, fuck, what do you do? And I feel like she took the probably the most harsh option. I don't know. It's a very scary thought.
Yeah, she's definitely like a kind of a tragic character type of vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're very clearly passionate about it. It's cool to like hear. A lot of people just play DBD for the game. They don't really mind too much about the lore. But you got the lore, you got the gameplay, you got the play style. You're all cover 100% Plague #1 fan. Got the little foam finger and everything, and that's cool. I really like that.
Like, unironically, I fucking really do love this. Like, I love her to fucking bits.
How strong do you think Plague is? I don't mean necessarily just like putting her on a tier list, but like based on your experience, based on if you're a new player or an old player, how much you like playing her. Like, how strong do you think Plague is?
It's really a question of if the survivors have any idea of what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And if they have any idea of what she's doing, she's like pretty good. She's got like, she can cover pretty much all grounds besides mobility, which is another way why, like, you know, she has to save as much time as possible, because when is she going to get the opportunity to hold M2 and then cross the map in like 2 seconds? But she does have a really good arsenal of tools. Like, when I play Plague, like there's very few times that I feel like, fuck, I don't have anything to deal with this. You know what I mean? I feel like it's either a problem with my planning, because Plague is like probably one of the most flexible killers out there, but as soon as you put her against people who don't know what they're doing, or one person who doesn't know what they're doing, holy fuck, she massacres people. Oh my god. Like, I don't know. Like, if you putting like peak LeBron James against like a school, like preschoolers, like it is like not even a fucking contest. And like, I feel like there is things you can do against Plague, but it's like, I've had people cleanse in front of like a hook before, which is like something you should never do, because that's like a face cam fountain, right? If you do that, that's basically like, here, Bubba, here's a basement that I'm gonna go down in front of. I hope you don't do what we all know you're going to do. But yeah. Or like unhooking in front of the nemesis, you know? It's just like,
listen, you know. All right, listen. Been a little singled out here, I'm not gonna lie.
Unhooking against nemesis is kind of the same thing against like going down near teammate against Plague, you know? It's like, you can't really blame them, you know? Like,
so Plague is very much like, if survivors know what they're doing, maybe a little harder. If they don't, destroyed, evaporated, atomized.
I don't think survivors will evaporate against like the average Plague, but like, you know, against someone who like knows what they're doing, it's like, okay, well, you might be a little bit cooked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And is there anything specific that like you would say is, so just from a survivor point of view, we're talking Plague strength, right? So what's like the most frustrating part about playing against the Plague as a survivor?
The most frustrating thing is when, that is an interesting one. I think when people try and like group up against the Plague, like that is the most fucking like annoying thing. Because like, if you spread out against any killer, like it's kind of GG's at that point, right? Unless you're like going against the twins. But like against Plague, if you spread out, you're on a really good chance to win. As soon as you see like a discordance proc, it's like, okay, well, I'm showing up there, and I like, if I down one person, then like that person doesn't have a speed boost to take me anywhere else. It's like, now I'm going after that guy, and then that guy goes down, and then, look at that, I see someone across the map, and that guy gets discombobulated then, and like everyone, like 3 people are down within like 20 seconds. It's like, why did you do this? But also, I feel like people don't grade pallets enough against Plague because like a lot of Plagues are terrified of like walking into pallets because losing Corrupt, right? It's Plague chicken. So like, but then again, people don't throw pallets against Plague. Like if you're near max infection, throw that shit. Like I had a survivor yesterday who ran towards a pallet, camped it, but didn't camp it right. Like she did the thing where they like hide away, but I managed to go through and she was so close to max infection that as soon as how do I describe this? She like I hit her to max infection. She backed away instead of throwing the pallet to stun me. But like she didn't do it right because like I was already in the middle of the pallet, right? So I just went through and clipped her and she DC'd and I was like, why, man? Oh, just throw a pallet, man. Throw a pallet, and don't group up. That's all you got to do.
That's actually a great segue for my next thoughts on asking you what your thoughts are on the Go Next epidemic. And like, how often do you have people DCing or going next?
Sometimes like you can tell if something's like this person has emetophobia, so they need to go next.
Yeah.
Like that I totally get. I don't think people should have a panic attack because they're there's no option to protect them. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, okay.
I want more people to enjoy my character, and I don't want more people to have panic attacks against my character. I want more people to enjoy my character. That's all I did. Have a comfy, cozy time against the silly little Babylonian lady. But the DC epidemic is. I'm gonna come clean. I've DC'd a few times. If it's like, oh, okay, whatever. But like, I feel like people don't like just immediately re-queue because it's that fucking easy to do it. Like. It's just that fucking easy to go next, right? But like every time I DC, I just I hop off the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and if I need to DC or whatever, it's fine. I'll take the punishment. It's fine. My team has a bot. It's whatever. But I feel like so many times I'll catch someone in a corner, down them, and then they're like, yeah, I'm just gonna kill myself at 5 hooks against a Plague on Leary's Memorial. And it's like just fucking immediately. It's like, oh, come on, man. Just most of the times as well, I had someone give up at a point in the game where I got looped for 3 gens against Plague, which, obviously for starters isn't that hard to do. But also, I'm going to lose the round in a few seconds. So as soon as he DC'd, I was like, oh, fuck, I win now. All right, well, I love free wins. Oh, I don't know. It's just why are you screwing over your team, man? I don't get it. It's always the comp fit aces too. I don't know.
There's a little sentiment about it where it's just always going to be the solo queue experience and the survivor experience and survivor handbook, I guess, but Winstreaking, right? Where you try your hardest, you bring the best perks. How do you feel about Winstreaking?
Not gonna lie, one of my I know people. I think some of my moots have done win streaks before. I have no problem with doing it for content. Me myself, I just find it kind of boring. I prefer getting into the technicalities of things and the silly clips or the silly things you can do with Plague. Most of my content is it's the stereotypical build content, you know what I mean? But I really get into why it works instead of just and what it does for Plague instead of just yeah, here's a build that's strong now, go 4K at 5. If you don't, I don't want to see you here for dinner. If you don't 4K at 5, I'm kicking you out. You're going off the will. But I feel as a whole, I feel the win streak epidemic or whatever, I feel it's way blown out of proportion because sure, yeah, you have a bunch of cracked killers doing it back to back to back and win streaking, and also DBD kind of exacerbates that with the matchmaking system. But I feel it's a select few players with such a high win streak that's holy fuck, how is this fair? But it's I feel the average survivor isn't going into Momo 7th Billy every single fucking game. You know what I mean? Maybe I don't play enough survivor. And me personally, I find win streaking trying my hardest. I've considered doing win streaks before. If it's a slow patch for me, none of the perks are good for Plague. I've considered doing it, but I feel the win streaks have to be more than just running the best shit every single time. My concept for a win streak right now is getting a win on every single killer, perkless and add-onless. But that would be kind of cool to watch. You know what I mean? And
yeah, it's something Ots would do, absolutely.
Yeah, but obviously I play a lot of Plague. I'm not that experienced with every other killer. You put me on that Billy character, the blighted killer. Ooh man, I might just be gnawing at my desk. Who knows? As if I don't do that already, but like
Don't eat your desk. Might not be good for you. So just like while we're talking about, running good shit, what type of perks you run? And I did ask about the singular perk that you run better than everyone else, Infectious Fright, but what do you run? Like what's your build and what is your favorite single perk? It could still be infectious. I'm not gonna judge.
My favorite single perk is Infectious, but what my builds usually revolve around is like a little bit of slowdown, information, and maybe a utility perk. Like what would be considered a utility perk, actually? Like play with your food, but that's like a chase perk, right? But then again, that's also got utility on Plague, so who really knows? But my go-to build, like if I just want to like a cozy time, would be lethal or corrupt with Infectious Fright. And then I've been really into oppression lately. I've been really into like oppressing gamers. I don't know. But also Dissolution is like that. That's probably my go-to at the moment.
All right,
like just a bunch of fun little perks.
And how about add-ons, the other half of a build? And just in general, how do you feel about Plague's add-ons? Like, do you think they're balanced, overtuned, undertuned? And what are your favorites to run?
Ooh, Plague's add-ons. I feel like Plague has the most. Sure, yeah, like a few of them could be merged and free up like a lot more interesting add-ons. I feel like Plague has the capability of getting more like interesting like add-ons instead of like oh yeah, this increases your infection gain from direct hits with Vile by 30 and like 50. It's like sure that can be merged and tuned down a little, but I feel like Plague's got the most like usable set of add-ons compared to any other killer. Like I feel like there's like two, like literally just two that are like worthless. That would be the Prophylactic Amulet and the Worship Tablet. Yeah, those two are worthless in the case of Worship, and like absolutely detrimental to Plague in terms of the prophylactic. Like those are the only two, but everything else is like either good to like absolutely fucking absurd. Like you've got like the Eerie Seal. Like brother, I have no idea how that didn't get nerfed like patches ago. I'm gonna be so for real. I have no idea how that hasn't like maybe there's not enough plagues like running it, but like I kid you not, that one add-on is literally that is like the criticism people who don't get Plague give Plague. It turns her into that. It is so fucking busted. And you also have things like the Black Incense, which is just like free wall hacks. Although that is kind of like balanced out by the fact that like Plague is just an M1 killer with like no chase power and like no trap as well. So it's like, yeah, she can see you, but like I feel like I genuinely like them. My go-tos right now are either Rubbing Oil, which is another really good one, and the Ashen Apple. Like her apples, I know, but yeah, no, like they're consistent and they're really good. They're consistent and good. That's all I gotta say.
Consistent and good.
You got like the what is it? The egg on Wesker. It's like, but also that one, like it's situationally either really good or like actually detrimental. So it's like, okay. But Plague, I feel like, yeah, it's good. It's really good. Or it's really fucking bad. Don't run this, but that's like two of them. So
you like apple and oil.
Yeah. Getting Plague to oil up has been the worst mistake behaviors allowed in this game.
That is an insane sentence, and I'm keeping it in. All right. So you wanted to talk about this a little earlier, but what are like some common misconceptions about Plague? You did briefly touch on the like cleansing being something you cannot do ever, but what do you wish people understood? Like, is there some super common grievance you get that has really obvious counterplay that just isn't being used or anything like that?
Are we talking about the survivor side or
either way?
Like from Plagues?
Either way.
Okay, so my common grievance with most Plagues is they will flick their fucking camera around to like spread the purges as far as possible. However, the purge you see isn't what actually does the damage. It's inside of that, because the projectiles Plague has are really small and oh so fucking invisible. So like you have no idea of what you actually hit. But in between those projectiles is the texture, which is what you can see. So if you spray your camera around, you can actually open up the gap between those those two projectiles and land the texture on the survivor, but not the projectile. Especially considering with invalidations, that is really detrimental. Even if you hit one, like that could invalidate and you just don't get a hit, right? So you want to get as much projectiles on target, not only to deal with invalidations, but also if they strafe, they can't do anything if it's a tighter, more precise burst. Like Plague's projectiles, like a purge is really about tracking and prediction, right? It's all about what you think they're going to do next. Right. And like, if you're keeping it tight, sure. Yeah. Survivors can juke you really well. But when you're on target, it is like you don't have any of the issues Plague does. If you're like, you see like other content creators doing it all the time, especially in older videos where they like whip their mouse around really quickly to like cover such a huge area. And it's like, brother, the survivors like can't cross your screen like that. Like, what are you doing? But another thing as well is I feel like people get themselves infected way too quickly. Here's the thing. Contaminations are sure, like basically it will remove a health state eventually, and you have complete control over when you lose that health state as a survivor. But I feel like people shouldn't be losing it over something really preventable. Like if it's a generator with 0% progression, you can just do something else in the meantime, and that Plague has effectively wasted their own time by traveling there while your teammates are doing gens, but also you remain uninfected. So if Plague finds you in a little bit, then you have a lot more time to deal with Vile Purge and like juke it and waste even more of her time. Like I feel like people are way too okay with getting infected. How do you pronounce their name? The Alranacan? Yeah, I often go against them as Wesker, and I remember one time I popped into their stream, it's like, why the fuck are they okay with getting infected? And I thought about that, but like the reason why I'm okay with like getting infected against Wesker and like getting thrown or like pinned is because I get distance, right? But with Plague, you don't get distance. So like you don't want to touch things, right? To like not only reveal you to the Plague if she's contaminated a very few amount of things, but also to waste her time. Because like if Plague runs into an area, infects all the gens, that books it to the other end of the map, she hasn't looked for you. She's wasted so much of her cooldown just infecting everything, and she gets nothing from it. So it's wasted time. Like you could just like check a chest, do a totem, or check the totems. It's like, I get that's like kind of a problem for a lot of things. It's like, oh, well, it's free slowdown. But like, then again, the Plague isn't doing anything either. Right? It's kind of just wasted time on both sides, which eventually the Plague is going to find someone and start chasing them. And then the contaminations are going to wear off. So eventually, when she does end up finding someone and starts chasing them, she's wasted a ton of her time. So, like, no one gets infected, like, Corrupt wears off, like, someone could have found a totem. So much things can go wrong by just infecting everything. And same goes for directly infecting people, too. Like, I know Nemis are kind of okay with, like getting multiple contaminations really quickly, but, like, Plague really doesn't have that flexibility. I don't know. Like, I see a lot of Plagues direct infecting people a lot, but, like, Nemi has to get close to you, right? And this, eventually there's, nothing really you can do against getting, a tentacle slap. Against a Plague, I'll see Plagues try and snipe people from, 12 meters away, which is, nearing the edge of her maximum range with Vile. And, the Survivor is just gonna look at that, hide in cover, and it's you've just wasted your own time. And I see a lot of Plagues just direct infecting someone and then leaving. And it's you get much more bang for your buck if you fully infect someone, then down them, because the person who rescues is not only taken off gens, but they also get infected. Mm-hmm. You want to contaminate multiple generators that are really strong and things you don't want to get popped immediately, stuff like a generator right by your fountain, your corrupt fountain, stuff like that you don't want to pop immediately, and then you go into chase to direct infect everyone. That's how you get people infected super quick. But I feel like a lot of people are way too easy with getting infected and just playing just touch the funky green substance. Please stop.
And if you'd give a general quick piece of advice to people that are starting Plague for the first time, like just inherent basics, what would you teach them first?
I would teach them to, I know it's a basic thing, but like you're going to make some fucking mistakes, some big ones, but don't feel fucking dissuaded for that. Because even though like the strongest Plague players, they've all made those mistakes before. And the best teacher is like recording your games and seeing what went wrong. You know what I mean? Like it was like, oh, I didn't see like Jane Romero like slow vaulting into a locker, because like for some reason Plague's vision is based on like movement. I don't really know what that's all about, but like if you're like crouching in a corner, like Plagues don't see that. So don't punish yourself over it. Learn from it. What I would really recommend people do is also to not pop corrupt early. Like try and like push people into them. I know like a lot of strong palettes are strong for a reason, right? And the survivor really dictates where you go. But if you like, say if there's a corrupt fountain behind you, you can get the survivor to vault the pallet by just going to the other side and then breaking it. So the survivor will then go closer in theory to the fountain, or you can just grab it on the way there, deal with the survivor with corrupt. But yeah, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Like seriously, there's so many you can make with a Plague that is so devastating. And I would say really just go for things. Literally just go for things. If you think you can like, oh yeah, I want to try like a really funky shot, like if you're an intermediate Plague, I kind of want to go for a drop shot. Just fucking do it, man. Like if you predict they'll be there in a second and then you just stop chasing and then purge over to where that's going to be, chances are they're going to get hit by it, because gamers don't look up.
This is true. That is a killer specific thing.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. Plague is tough. I make a ton of videos like giving individual advice, but the one like giving a one bit of advice or Plague is so tough, because there's a multitude of different issues that someone could be potentially having with her.
One piece of advice: watch Magi N7's videos.
I totally get it. Like I was in that position beforehand, and it may not be and I know there's multitudes of different things to do, but I would say take it easy on yourself, but also like push yourself, use your purges. Even if you don't get a hit, you're learning when you should purge. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I contaminate the generator that's closest to my fountain. No one gets infected by it. That's good. That's good if they don't get infected, because you know they haven't touched it. You know what I mean? Or like stuff like infecting your totems. Newsflash, that reveals where your totem is, you know? Tall lady with multiple particle effects goes to it like a discrete location and then vomits on something. I wonder what that could be. You know what I mean? But like, I don't know, experiment. She's ripe for experimentation.
Now, I want to know, what is your take on, if you were again given full executive control, is there anything about her that you would change? We did mention an accessibility slider earlier, so I feel like that would be like built in. But like anything from kit, balance, vibe, whatever, anything problematic, what would you change about her?
Ooh, so I've thought about this for a while, and I would give Plague whispers when corrupt starts. Like, you know, like a lullaby, like a 13-meter lullaby or a 14.5-meter lullaby if you're running like the Vilometic. And that's mainly just because like Plague has a lot of like tells, but like sometimes like a lot of people don't realize how long corrupt can or cannot be. And here's the thing, you don't even need that long of Plague already whispers, and like how fucking thematic would that be if like she's running an undetectable build and all you hear, or like even if it's like 6 meters or something and all you hear is and you're like, what the fuck is that? And then she just jumps you. You know
So
what I mean?
you want
It's
her to
like,
have
oh
a
my
lullaby, basically.
Yeah, like a 6-meter lullaby or something like that. Another thing as well, I think really needs to be implemented into DBD is like a subtitle feature, because like a lot of killers have audio tells, if that makes any sense. Like a lot of audio tells that it's happening, but like audio occlusion in this game is kind of a thing that they intended to put in the game at some point and then gave up on. A lot of the times, I remember I was looking at this huntress for like 2 seconds. She's so close to me. I look away for a second and then I get hit with a hatchet. And it's like, where the fuck did that come from? Because like, I couldn't hear it. Like the sound occlusion is so bad sometimes. So I feel like with killers like Plague who have audio tells, it would be really neat to have something to clue in that like, oh yeah, the Plague is doing this. And like same thing with like, I know like a lot of people might get upset about that. It's like that gives people like an unneeded advantage. It like kind of holds people holding W and stuff like that. But it's like look at the heartbeat sensor. You know what I mean? Like that, you know, the visible heartbeat. Like how many people do you see running that now after people said it was like game breaking? And like what even came of that? Nothing really.
It's just another whole like accessibility thing. It's like people that use it will use it. And it's like if you were so bothered by it, you can also run it, you know?
Yeah. Like I run it all the time. Like some of the tear radiuses, like it's really hard for me to tell when something is like, oh yeah, they're 24 meters away, or if they're like the 32 to 24 meters away. That's kind of important for like killers like the Unknown and stuff like that, or even Plague as well. It can be pretty rough. So I think like subtitles, because like while Plague does have a lot of visual tells, like I think they've done a really good job of that because she sprawls out. But what else I would love to implement is, you know, when you're like playing Trickster or like Nemesis or like Huntress or like Pyramid Head, you know, when you hit someone with your power and you got a really nice hit indicator, I would love one of those for Plague. That would be so fucking cool. That'd be so cool. I would love one of those. I would also love visual projectiles as well. That would be pretty neat. Just so like I don't like I get the curve right. Like I get the curve right, but because the chain breaks and like a projectile slipped through, it looks like I just killed them with mind. So like that would be pretty good to tell like, oh yeah, you are still in danger if you're in that like niche situation. Another thing I would love for them to implement is something to do with the healing. And I know people give Plague shit all the time for like, oh yeah, I wish I could heal against Plague. There's a couple of solutions I've came up for that kind of like buff her, but also like implement healing as a thing that Plague can do. So my first thing would be healing like your infection rate from maximum. If you get hooked and then unhooked, immediately after the unhook progress is finished, your infection is set to 1%, like Wesker.
So like Wesker, yeah.
Yeah. So basically that would infect the person who rescued, right? But you guys can still heal up. And if you're being healed, by the way, your infection doesn't progress. So it's also kind of an anti-tunnel mechanic as well. I really like that. That would be a choice. But another thing I talked about as well is if you grab Corrupt, it would be really nice if everyone's infection was removed. Like this is spitball because like I know Black Incense is like would also be nerfed if you did this, but if it got removed and for every survivor at max infection, Plague got like 5 extra seconds of Corrupt, that's pretty nice. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, you know, or like after getting a hit with Corrupt, like for every survivor at max infection, you get a little bit of Corrupt back after a hit. Other visual indicators, like the 3 seconds of immunity survivors get after being hit by Corrupt, would be nice to know. You know how like Freddy has like the alarm clock if they woke up, right? Something like that would be really nice to have. You know, Plague as she is right now. She needs like a couple of add-ons tweaked for sure. But I think she is fucking perfect. Like without the bugs, without anything, Plague as she is right now is perfect. She just needs a couple of like quality of life changes. That's all she really needs. You know what I mean? And also like reducing like how spammable her purges are. Maybe like making the charge a little bit, not the charge, but the cooldown a little bit more. Those are changes I would make.
And changes in general are a thing that have happened, of course. So do you think buffs and nerfs have been fair? And how have changes to the meta treated her? So like perk changes, perk releases, perk maps, full reworks to your power. I don't think that's happened, but like, you know, stuff like that.
So Plague got a pretty massive quality of life like update like 3 years ago.
What was it?
Basically her Corrupt was the same. She got an add-on pass and her projectiles, like she felt better to charge up and like vomit with, but unintentionally they buffed the range with that. It was pretty substantial. They changed the cooldown. It used to be much longer for vomiting. It used to slow you down a lot more, but contamination, that went from 35 seconds to 40. But the updates as a whole I think Plague has settled nicely a little bit. Like, I know we're in a bit of a slugging meta, and like, you know, like Plague should be like, you know, but like Plague really doesn't slug like that. She doesn't like Knockout really hurts Plague. Like Knockout, I feel like is just like mean as hell. So if you down someone and then just leave them on the ground, it's another type of slugging Plague is good at. Like Plague is really good at like a Hotline Miami-esque, like she downs one person, someone else is nearby, she like busts through the wall and she's after you now. Like that's what Plague does.
Yeah.
And I feel like she really struggles in this environment. Like, I feel like Unbreakable and Exponential are so common now, and like Wiglif and stuff like that, that really punishes her for like basically just existing. And it's unfortunate. Like, I get those perks are supposed to exist, but like, goddamn, if I'm like running Corrupt, fuck, dude. I'm like the dog who like is like mournful. You know what I'm talking about? Like the dog who's cooked. Like while she is really good at slugging, and like you should never give her a reason to slug, I feel like the Plague sometimes really does suffer from like a lot of the changes. Like Buckle Up for the People. I remember someone told me like, oh, you should be fine against Buckle Up for the People because you're a Plague. They can't heal anyways. But that's kind of the problem, right? Like if they get like, if someone cleanses in a corner of the map, or like even at the start of the game where Plague is at her weakest, like she really needs to get a few downs to like really win the game. Like if they just pick themselves up and then they're safe for like the next 20 minutes, like, I don't know, that's kind of a problem, right? I think like compared to like Hag, like I feel like Hag has been like really cooked. So she hasn't gotten that situation, but I think that's all I can say really. Like she isn't a Hag situation, but it's a little rough, a little dicey.
So like overall you would say balance updates have been pretty good, but the meta changing around are not as great as it could have been.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I'm gonna admit I'm running out of segues. I have a few more questions. Do you think the maining Plague specifically has given you transferable skills if you play other killers or even other games outside of Dead by Daylight?
Oh wait, no, I think macro knowledge, that can apply to every other killer in the game where I'm just like comfy with. You know what I mean? Like a Blight with macro knowledge is probably one of the scariest fucking things you can ever face in the game, right? So like even if I'm an average Blight, if I can show up where they need me, like they don't want me to be, otherwise they'll lose, that's really fucking good, right? In terms of like mechanical skill, like Plague is like the only one who can do what she does. Like Unknown, like they can shoot over things for sure, but like Unknown's angles are it's like one projectile, right? And it's got a lingering hitbox. So I would argue it's less punishing than Plague's. If that makes any sense, because Plague has to be so tight with it. I would say a little bit, but Plague has her own set of skills. So I would say no.
It's a Dead by Daylight macro knowledge thing, not like a other games type of thing. Gotcha, cool. Just while we're at, other games, Dead by Daylight as a whole is a game that has lasted a pretty long time. How long do you think that Dead by Daylight is going to last before it like finally shuts down?
Ooh, that is a question. It's all about money. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really know the ins and outs of DBD as it stands right now, but I would say it's profitable enough to be buying like the licenses for like Dungeons and Dragons, like Chaos Shuffle and stuff like that. I think it's really profitable at the moment. I don't think it's gonna die recently, but I feel like DBD as a whole has kind of an issue with player retention, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, we have like people like us who play the game like fucking religiously, right? There's not that many licenses they can do. Like I know that's a big bump, but like even like me as like a fan of Dead by Daylight, like all the licenses is kind of tiring me out, man. Like we had like Castlevania Tome for like so long. I was a little bit upsetty spaghetti, but like it was like Asimov's made a video today, or like released a video, I should say, where it was like the game right now is like it's got like 31 licensed characters and like 30 non-licensed, which I think is a little insane. And like most of the non-licensed characters are like kind of bugged, like Houndmaster Twins, Plague, kind of miserable at times. And then you got like Skull Merchant who died. That's like 4 like original characters. You could just, as a whole, I feel like DBD right now is doing okay. I feel like it needs a few changes to both keep player retention, but also accessibility to keep more people playing and to draw more people in. I feel like licenses have gotten as big as they're going to get. So I feel like now, like, DBD does have like a good share of the market. I don't think it's in its like twilight years for sure. It's got a few more years left in it, but like, I feel like if they don't start like releasing like a DBD 2 or like a DBD definitive edition or something.
Yeah, just
like,
to make it like run better, have actual accessibility options, like lower requirements, stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely. I've been saying that because like I don't know how familiar you are with Heroes of the Storm, but Heroes of the Storm did a patch like that called Heroes 2.0 where they like revamped the entire thing, and it was like night and day. Just one random day in, like, I think it was April, I don't know. The game, it used to take like 3 minutes to reconnect from a match. They downed it to 10 seconds at the maximum. They added a new progression system. They added new leveling. They back paid you. So like, imagine DBD adds a loot box system tomorrow, and you're like devotion, whatever. And say you would have gotten a loot box every time you level the character. Like, you would get back paid in boxes. And you could just get cosmetics that way. Like, that's what they did with Heroes 2.0, which it was insane.
Yeah, that's fucking like crazy mode. That's what the UE5 update should have been. Imagine how crazy that would have been. Like UE5 drops, like the game runs flawlessly. Oh my god, that. Yeah, like
I'm not saying, Behavior is obviously a smaller company than Blizzard, but like, so I'm not saying they have to do that and just give away every cosmetic for free, but like, it would be nice if we got like a bone, like P100 rewards, like the game running better, stop crashing, an actual report system, accessibility sliders for whoever needs it. They don't even have a brightness slider in game. Like, you can't even change the brightness. It's 2025. Yeah. Like, come on, guys.
Oh, so about the P100 rewards,
I know they mentioned it.
Their excuse. I was like, oh, we don't want things to be exclusive. Okay, so why are we tying exclusive things into like limited time bundles? There was a Plague crown that was in the bundle that I didn't pick up because I didn't want anything in the bundle. I just wanted the crown on its own, and that was exclusive to that. You can't buy that crown anymore.
No. Like, FOMO is only a thing when it's something they don't want to do. Smile. So, okay. Magi, hit Plague player, my final question for you, the absolute end of it. What would make you drop Plague completely? What would be the straw that breaks the camel's back?
Well, we have a Plague rework, or like a change coming, and it's tied in with a Pinhead change, and they dropped it because they wanted to do more changes. And that is really scary. And I think I would always be playing Plague, no matter how much the nerf is going to be. But if it is a full rework where they make like corrupt the main attack instead of like something you gotta retrieve, or like an alternating firing mode, I think that would be like, that would break it for me. Like, I would still absolutely adore her, but it's like, it's kind of like removing her identity, you know what I mean? Like scooping it out and replacing it with a pale imitation of the real thing. And admittedly, it is DBD's game. They can do whatever they want with it, but I hope to God they realize the fucking gem they have with Plague and they just polish her instead of smashing her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so more of like a clown rework than like whatever they're doing to Scourgeon. Yeah, that's kind of all I've got for you right now. I appreciate your coming on and spending time with me talking about the Plague. Now, this little ending section is going to be all for you. So if you want to tell people where to find you, I'll put your links up on screen. If you want to talk about what you're working on right now, go for it.
No worries. Thank you for having me on. My name is, once again, I'm Magi N7. You can find me under the name Magi on YouTube or Magi N7 on Twitch. I'm currently working on a bunch of sillier little videos about our Plague, but I do have 2 big videos already out on my channel. They're the Play With Your Food video, the Speed Plague video, and the Prophylactic video. I'm really proud of those, but also there's a couple of littler videos with a bunch of different like fun little facts in there. So, if you want more Plague goodness, you can find me there. And Horce, I do really want to thank you for having me on. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to everyone who watches this and listens and enjoys, thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of the community. I appreciate you very much. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your morning, day, noon, evening, night, whatever it might be. So I will catch you in the next one. See you later.
Bye.